Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Sexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, so subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to live a satisfied, happy and fulfilled life that's sex-free. So basically, how to have a happy, satisfied and fulfilled sex-free life whether you're asexual or not. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stay tuned. First of all, if you don't know who I am, I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives book on Amazon and this Diary Confessions book on Amazon. And both of these are best-selling asexual books, so go and grab a copy of those. And so, yes, how to live a happy, fulfilled and satisfied sex-free life, whether you're asexual or not. If you're a sex repulsed asexual, this is probably something you already might know how to do. That's providing you are happy in your life. If not, listen up. So, first of all, if we discuss happiness, what you have to do is first self-reflect and think about what makes you happy. And we have to do this in the context of not having sex, because even the people that do have sex are not always having sex 24/7. They are doing things in their life that still make them happy. And so you need to be thinking for yourself, what things do make you happy? Is it seeing friends? Is it spending time with family? Is it doing your favorite hobby? Is it doing a sport? Is it doing a team activity? Is it doing a workshop? Is it doing a class? Is it just self-care? Maybe it's going to the gym, maybe it's taking a shower, or a combination of all these things and so much more. So you might have heard me refer to something called a happy list. And this is really important because I'm just going to move another pillow up to my back. And this is really important because a happy list is something that you sit down and write, and you have to say at least what are the 10 things that make you happy. Now, in this case, you have to focus on 10 things that make you happy, minimum, which don't involve sex. And so just think of what this may entail. A lot of people want sex who do want it because of the way it makes them feel, because of the experience it gives them, because of the high it gives them. So if you are a person who does have sex, then I want you to actually think of the reasons behind why you do that. Rather than just think about the sex itself, think about what need is the sex fulfilling. And what I mean by that is not just, oh, I've got to have sex. What need is that fulfilling? Is it fulfilling a desire to be close to the person physically? Is it satisfying a need to release sexual arousal? Is it to feel like mothered? Some guys have issues from childhood or difficulties in childhood, should I say, where they weren't made to feel loved, special and cared for. And one way they can get that as an adult is if they have a woman who's like motherly towards them, or even if the guy puts his head on the woman's breast. That can be a very nurturing, loving thing that they like. I personally am sex repulsed and I don't want a guy on my breast, but this in the main is what people are looking for and after when they want to be in that position. So I want you to examine, if you are a person who has sex, what are your reasons behind why you do that, rather than just the act itself. Like, what needs is that fulfilling? Is it stopping you feeling lonely? Is it stopping you being bored? Is it releasing tension? Is it de-stressing you? What are the actual reasons why you have sex? Because if you understand the reasons why you have sex, if you're a person who does have sex, then you can start to look for other things in your life that fulfill those needs and make you less reliant on sex, or enable you to have a happy, sex-free life. If we take addictions such as porn addiction, for example, porn addiction is fulfilling a need. Often it's due to boredom, or it's because the person's lonely, or it's because they want some visual stimuli. It's often to do with things like on an innate level that it's missing in their life. So it's not just a case of, oh, I'm watching porn. It's a case of the fact that that porn is supplying a need for that person. So if we analyze situations on life, including those who are listening who do have sex, I want you to really in-depth analyze why you have it, and don't just say, oh, because the act, I love sex. What need is that fulfilling? Go through the things I've mentioned. Is it because you're lonely? Is it because you want to relieve sexual arousal? Is it because you're bored? Is it because you want to be mothered? Is it because you want to feel like you're taken care of and you want to feel like you're loved? Or is it just some dopamine or oxytocin hit? Because when we can analyze these type of things, we can then, like I said, look for other things in our life to give us these type of things. Now, if you're a sex repulsed asexual and you're not having sex, then you already know how to live a sex-free life. But in this video, we're discussing how to have a happy, satisfied and fulfilled sex-free life. So, like I said, go and write a happy list. I want you to list a minimum of 10 things that make you happy, and you're not allowed to say sex in this. This is 10 things that make you happy without sex. You should have a minimum of 10 things. So this is actually something that I use my happy list to make sure that my mental health is kept in a positive state as much as possible. So your happy list isn't just an exercise in how to be happy without having sex. It's an exercise in how to make yourself happy every single day of your life. Because what you should be doing is on that list of 10 things, you should be doing at least 3 of these things a day. So things that are on my happy list, for example, are watching a movie. I went to the cinema earlier. Are listening to music. I've been listening to a ton of music today whilst doing admin paperwork for hours on end, and taking a hot shower. That makes me feel really good. Connecting with friends. I connect with my best friend via Messenger. So I actually done at least 4 things on my happy list today, right? And the more I do things that make me feel happy, the happier I am. I know this might sound really simple, basic stuff, but not enough people actually focus on what makes them happy. Instead, they're focusing on things they don't have and things that are lacking in their life. But when you start focusing on things that is within your control that you can have, it takes your personal power back and it allows you to facilitate your own happiness. And if someone else is not involved in your happiness, but you are, or someone sexual is not involved within your happiness, but it's something you can control, then that puts you in a much more powerful position. Like in life, no one should be relying on someone else's genitalia to make them happy. And this is where society is deeply flawed, in the sense they value someone's worth by the amount of sex they are and are not having. And this leads people to feel very isolated, lonely, and depressed if they're a person who likes sex and wants it if they're not getting it. They take it as a personal insult against their worth. But we have to separate sex from somebody's worth because they're not the same thing. Even people who have sex a lot do not have it all the time. And in those times they're having sex, it doesn't mean to say they're thinking I'm worthless because I'm not having sex. No. Having sex has got nothing to do with your worth. In fact, if you're having sex and getting it by underhanded means without really caring about the person who you're doing it with, I would argue that that lowers your worth and value, because you're just going after the sex and not having any standards. So we need to be focusing on what makes us happy without sex. And there are a multitude of things. There are some people who are heterosexual, for example, who do experience sexual attraction, but they decide to study and they decide to focus on their study. And some guys have a rule that they will not have sex whilst they are studying, because it distracts the mind. It takes their focus off their work and hampers it, and they're less likely to do well. It's the same with some other guys. They decide they're not going to get involved with a girl until after they finish their degree, because it distracts them. It takes them away from what they truly want. And this is one of the huge benefits of not having sex, because sex is a huge distraction. It does take time, it does take energy. And for some people, it costs a lot of money, because some people meet up in hotels and things like that. It can be very pricey. Right, so there's a cost to it. There's a cost to having sex, and there's also a cost to having sex if you're not really bothered about it, or worse, if you hate it, right? And you're doing it because you think that's what you're meant to do, what society dictates you should do, right? So we need to stop focusing on sex being part of someone's worth, because it truly has nothing to do with how much the person's worth. And we need to instead focus on all the things people focus on when they're not having sex. There's tons of time that even the people who love sex are not having sex. I'm sure there's lots of guys that I'm connected to on social media who really love sex, but they're not having it. What are they doing with their life instead? They're studying. They're working out how to make more money. They're meeting up with friends. They're going traveling. They're exploring where they live. They're exploring other places. You know, they're doing other things because they have to. If they're not getting sex, they have to do other stuff. And so what you need to be doing is doing the things that bring you joy and happiness, but do them without the sex and be happy with that scenario. But also, let me give you some other further advice, and that is to be satisfied in your life. You need to be having goals that are attainable, right? Because the only way you're going to feel satisfied in your life is if you've accomplished something, if you feel like you have a sense of place in society, like you are worth something, like you're needed, like you're wanted, and that you are worthy to be in life. So satisfaction comes from having things to achieve and obtaining those things that you want to achieve. So this means like setting goals and achieving things that you may not have felt possible before. Because when we achieve things and we achieve goals that perhaps we didn't have before, then it gives us a sense of satisfaction. However, most people do not reflect on their actual achievements, and instead they let them go by, and then they're never satisfied. They're always looking for the new thing, the latest thing, rather than taking stock of where they are now in their life. So what you need to do is set goals, right? You can have big, audacious goals, but you have to break those big, audacious goals down into smaller, more manageable goals, and then break each of those goals down into little chunks so that you can achieve it. If you never see any progress and no achievements, then it will just be a constant battle of you not feeling great, because you won't feel as satisfied as if you've done something and achieved it. So you break things down into smaller goals, into bite-sized chunks, and when you achieve them, you celebrate in some way. What does a celebration look like? It could just be you give yourself half an hour time out to go and have fun, do whatever, dance around your room, listen to a comedy, you know, a sitcom on TV. It could be that you do some dancing around your room. It could be that you just go and treat yourself to a nice cream cake in a cafe. It could be that you go for a walk. You need to do some sort of reward for when you achieve things, because, you know, life is not easy, as we know, and if we don't reward ourselves for achieving, we'll feel deflated and not like we're not making any progress in life, right? So if you feel like that, you need to be rewarding yourself, right? We don't reward ourselves with sex, we reward ourselves with other things when we live a sex-free life. We reward ourselves with things that make us feel good and happy, and things that give us pleasure, and things that make us feel like we're competent and that we're doing a good job. You know, even if you can't do a lot of these things, you can just stop. Just stop and take notice of what you've done and say, hey, good job to yourself. You know, good job, because you've achieved these things. So write your happy list, as I've said. Make sure you do at least 3 things on the happy list every single day. But this happy list, you're going to be focusing on every, did I say every single day of your life, right? You need to know what makes you happy without sex, right? The needs that sex fulfills, if you're a person who does have sex and you want to live a happy life, then you need to find out by analysis what you are getting in terms of needs met through having sex. Is this being close to someone? Is this, you know, having the loneliness go away? Is this having some comfort? Is this being mothered? You know, all these types of things, right? Sex fulfills a need, and that's why people get addicted to it as well, because of the dopamine, right, and the oxytocin. So what can you do that gives you dopamine and oxytocin that makes you on a high that's not sex, right? So dancing is one of those things. Sport is another. Adrenaline sports, particularly like bungee jumping, for example. But a lot of sports are adrenaline because they're high octane energy stuff, right? And then that's why dancing gives you oxytocin as well. But, you know, it might just be that you get oxytocin from doing a hobby. Maybe you love artwork. And if you pour your energy into the artwork, you might get a great deal of dopamine from feeling so good about when you accomplish that painting that you're so eager to finish. You know, so it doesn't have to be something high octane energy, but that does obviously pretty much guarantee you're going to be releasing some oxytocin, right, if you're enjoying doing that type of thing. But I found out recently as well that oxytocin reduces cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and so this is really important anyway for living a happy, fulfilled and satisfied life. Now, the word satisfied kind of means that, you know, that you're happy with the way things are and that you feel like you're in a good place at the moment. So what you need to do, like I said, is been setting you set big goals, then make sure you set smaller goals from those big goals, and then break them down into bite-sized chunks, so then you achieve them and you reward yourself every time you achieve them. Now, by setting goals and achieving them, it makes you feel satisfied in your life because it makes you feel like you're doing something worthwhile. Also, one of the ways to be satisfied is get involved in community projects. I nearly said products then. Get involved in community projects, and volunteering is really good for feeling satisfied, like you're helping people. You could work for the Citizens Advice Bureau in the UK, for example. You could volunteer at an old people's nursing home. So, you know, that you're fulfilling a need for other people. And often if we fulfill other people's needs, we're often fulfilling our own, because we're wanting the need to be needed, right? We're having, should I say, the need to be needed. So if we need to be needed and we are needed, that'll make us feel satisfied. So satisfaction is being happy with what you're doing, being happy in that moment, feeling good about where you are at that moment in your life. And it's a sense of accomplishment, achievement, and like you're on the right path and things are working out for you and they're really good. And you're like, I'm doing good, right? Fulfilled is when you are happy with what you've achieved and you're making achievements. But fulfilled is when you're happy with what you've got, regardless of what happens next. So a lot of people, for example, even millionaires and billionaires, they can have all the money in the world, but a lot of the time they're not fulfilled or satisfied, because they're never satisfied with that amount of money they've got. They always want more money. And even if they don't need any more money and they achieve what they set out to achieve, a lot of the time it's like the case of, well, what happens now? Like, what do I do now? I've reached the level I wanted to reach, but then what happens? And so this is how come we end up with millionaires, billionaires depressed, because they are not feeling fulfilled in other aspects of their life. So what I want you to do is to take a piece of paper and write multiple aspects of your life down that you need to feel satisfied and fulfilled in, such as career. Like, what is your ideal career? What is the most bestest thing you love about things in your life that you could possibly do a career on? So if you love books, for example, maybe you want to work in a library, maybe that's your dream job, or you want to work in a publishing company, for example. So you need to be focusing on the areas of your life and what would make you feel good in those areas. What would be the final outcome that you would want to have that would make you feel satisfied and happy if you got it? So career, like I said, focus on what makes you happy in your career. Finances, like if you were to be at your happiest because of your financial status, or how much money you have in the bank, what would the good sum of money be in the bank, right? Like, what would your ideal amount be now? Like, it could be an extravagant amount, but it's better to make it a realistic amount that would satisfy you, that you have enough and that you're secure enough to be happy in life, because obviously if you're worrying about money a lot of the time, it's hard to be satisfied, isn't it? So we want to be thinking about, like, what is our ideal amount of money that we need per month, and how we can obtain that. If we can't obtain it for our main job, maybe we can start a second income stream, for example, making money online. Spirituality, if you're a spiritual person, like, what would make you feel satisfied spiritually? Would it be actually making a spiritual practice for yourself each day? Would it be using your spirituality to help others? Would it be just following your intuition? And the more you follow your intuition, the more you follow your inner knowing, and the more you're right, the more it actually makes you feel confident in yourself. And it basically encapsulates your self-identity. It embodies it, it makes it greater and stronger. So I think intuition is a very important one that a lot of people forget in life. But in order to be fully satisfied in life, if you have an inner knowing, it's important that you listen to it and you lean into that and you follow your life path as laid out by your intuition, which can seem crazy at times. But once you start listening to yourself rather than the noise of other people in the world, you begin to be more satisfied with yourself and who you are, because you trust yourself, because you know that it doesn't matter what other people are doing in their life, you're on your path and you are following on what makes you happy, right? Some people actually believe that, sex takes away energy, takes away spiritual energy, it takes away energy to get things done. And so if you're not having sex, theoretically you have more time for other things, but you also have more focus on your own inner knowing and spirituality, because sex tends to bond you to other people. And I think sometimes it can cause a lot of confusion and clutter in the mind, because your chemicals, your hormones in your body are firing off. And it's like, are you really thinking clearly? Are you thinking straight? Or are you just overwhelmed with emotions at the time that maybe clouds your judgment? Maybe you end up having sex with someone who's really no good for you, for example. So not having sex helps you to keep a clearer mind, and it helps you to focus on goals in your own life that you can achieve and accomplish without someone else being involved. And therefore you can feel satisfied and fulfilled and happy that you're creating your own happiness, you're creating your own excitement in your life, you're taking action, and you're in control of your life. And this is very empowering, right? When you feel empowered, it gives you a good sense of satisfaction, like, yeah, I did that, and I can connect to other people, but damn, I did that myself, I can rely on myself more. When you become more self-reliant, your life becomes more satisfactory and satisfied, right? Because you are pleasing yourself and you're not relying on external sources to make you happy, which gives you a greater degree of agency in your own life, the ability to do things on your own terms, because you're not relying on someone else for your own happiness. And when people have sex, obviously you can masturbate, but if you're having sex with someone, then you are relying on another person to give you pleasure and excitement in that moment. Whereas if you are giving yourself excitement and pleasure in your own life, whether you want to masturbate or you're completely against that, then you are able to satisfy yourself, and you're able to do it in a way that's a more productive and healthy way for you, because you're not relying on someone else for that happiness and pleasure. You're actually fulfilling your own prophecy of being happy if you're not getting someone else involved, because you're the one who's driving your happiness forward. So this is very empowering, right? We feel happy when we do things that make us feel good, that give us pleasure, that give us enjoyment, that make us feel special, valued, loved, cherished, understood, cared for, adored. We feel happy. We feel happy when we're helping others because we feel useful in life. We feel satisfied when we've accomplished the things that we need to, or at least a degree of the thing, right? If you spent ages writing a letter to someone and then you finish it, you feel accomplished and you feel a great degree of satisfaction because you finished it. So one way to be satisfied with your life is to see things through to the end. It's to not give up. It's to have patience with yourself and patience with life, to know that Rome wasn't built in a day. Nothing good is usually handed to you on a platter straight away, and things have to be worked for, and you need to be patient. But the more patient you are, the longer it takes you to achieve something, in theory, the more satisfied you'll be when you get it, because you know how hard you work to achieve that thing, to accomplish it. So it's a big deal. And feeling fulfilled is having your life full and filled up. Did you hear what I just said? It's having your life full and filled up. That's fulfilled. Your life is full of what makes you happy, feels good, and even when things aren't going according to plan and things might seem chaotic, if you push through those difficult times and you still accomplish things, that gives you an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. Like, my God, I had to go through tough times. I had to battle my demons. I had to push through my fears. It took all of my strength, and I've become more resilient in the process. I've gone to another level of myself because I have pushed and gone through and achieved more than I ever imagined I could. And that gives you a great sense of satisfaction, because instead of like not following through and always thinking, oh, what if I'd have done this? When you follow through to the very end, even if it's not exactly the outcome you want, you can feel satisfied in the knowledge that you did your best and you accomplished as much as you could. The people that are unfulfilled and unsatisfied in life are the ones that didn't stick to something they wanted to do. Whether that's because they got greedy and thought, I want more money, or they thought, I'm worried about what people think, or they're just like, it's too much hassle, too much work. Whatever the multitude of reasons it is, people are not fulfilled and satisfied because they don't accomplish the things they want to accomplish, and instead they give up. If you give up, you fail in life. But if you never give up, you never fail, right? If you just keep pushing and pushing yourself to achieve what you can, but you have to stop and reward yourself. You can't push, 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 and then not acknowledge of what you've actually done, of your accomplishments, because then you'll just feel deflated. You'll feel like you're never good enough for yourself, right? You have to stop in life and say, yeah, I did a damn good job. I'm pleased with myself. I spent hours working on that thing. My God, I've made progress. Wow. And you stop and you think, yeah, hell yeah, I've done a great job, So you have to give yourself self-praise, positive self-talk. And like I said, you need to be focusing multiple aspects of your life on what makes you happy and what makes you feel satisfied in each of those. So we've talked about spirituality, we've talked about career, we've talked about finance. But there are other things like, how can you be more satisfied within your family? Right? But when you are working with other people, you are reliant on their attitude towards you and things like this. So if you have family who's not nice to you, for example, then it might be more satisfying to spend time away from them and limit your time with them, so you can actually make progress in your life and feel good about yourself and praise yourself. That might be more satisfying to accomplish things away from that environment that might be toxic for you. So other people who who may be not as close to their family, but they could be, because it could be a healthy relationship, then work on the things that are gonna make you feel more satisfied. Maybe it just means reaching out to your mum and asking her to go on a shopping day with you. Maybe it's thanking her for what she does for you. Maybe it's just spending more time with your parents in general, So what would bring you satisfaction in that area of your life? If you don't have an end goal, if you don't know what the happiness and satisfied situation looks like, then you're like running around like a headless chicken and not really having an end goal, an aim. So you have to work out what would make you satisfied and filled, like what would happen or have to happen in order for you to say, oh, I feel good right now. I did that thing, right? So other aspects of your life may be hobbies and interests. Like, are you neglecting your hobbies and interests? Maybe you're working too much. Maybe you're watching too much TV. Maybe you're part of a family and they don't really give you time on your own to do your own hobby. Like, what can you do about that? Can you have a shed in the garden where you go in and you do your hobby in the shed? Can you allocate X amount of time per day to your favorite passion? What would make you happy? What would make you feel joyous about that thing? So you have to address all these aspects in your life. But another thing is to bring excitement and adventure into your own life. What do I mean by this? I mean, in order to feel more satisfied in life, especially if it's become a bit monotonous, is to do things that are different. So every month, you say to yourself, I'm going to try something new every week. I'm going to go to a new coffee shop. I'm going to go to a place at a different time to what I usually go to. I'm going to speak to a person I've never spoken to before. I'm going to go on a day trip I've never gone on before. I haven't been for ages. These type of things. So in order to add excitement and adventure to your life, you need to be adding new things, because if we do the same things over and over again, we can stagnate. And when we stagnate, it can hold us back in life. And if you are looking for oxytocin and dopamine, then you want to try new things out. You want to try different activities out to give you that high. Maybe you want to go to a concert with someone. Maybe you want to try a new event in your city. Maybe you just want to go dancing somewhere different, for example. So by doing different things, we add variety to our lives, which make our lives more interesting, which makes it more satisfying. Because if we are feeling like it's just so monotonous, that doesn't feel satisfying, does it? It kind of feels like, oh, not the same thing over and over again. So if you've been in a relationship for a long time and you're not having sex, then you have to find other ways of making that relationship exciting. And this often means having date nights together, but you don't have to have sex. You can just be kissing and cuddling. You can be reflecting on memories between you two. You can be talking about things from childhood and reminiscing together. You can be doing a lot of different things without actually having sex. You can have intimate conversations, which is sharing secrets that you've not told each other before. You can also be going to new places. You can find places you haven't been before to go, whether that's in your local vicinity or further afield. I would suggest doing a mixture of both. You can try new kissing techniques out, or kiss your partner in a different way or manner or a different time of day to what you usually do. If you're self-employed at home, can you switch your schedules around occasionally? Can you have the element of surprise where instead of like seeing each other on a Friday, maybe you see each other an extra day that week and you go out or one of you takes the other person out for a secret rendezvous somewhere. Doesn't have to be sexual, it's just a different place basically. And then the next week the other person does it, or like you book a day trip, so don't tell the other person where the day trip is, but you go on it together. This little things that add excitement. Maybe you just need to grab your partner and kiss them, and have more physical contact, have more touching, have more sensuality, right? If you're into physical stuff, you don't have to have sex. You can still be sensual without having sex. You can stroke the person's hair, the person's shoulders. You can give the person a massage, all these type of things, right? To help your partner be satisfied in a relationship without sex. To have satisfaction in a relationship without sex, you just do anything and everything that you two can possibly think of that you enjoy minus the sex. It's quite an easy thing to think about logically, right? Just what would you do in a scenario where you're with each other but you're not having sex, and just do those things, right? A lot of teenagers who are having relationships, they're underage for sex. They can't have sex or it'd be illegal, right? So they have to find ways of entertaining each other and feeling good about the relationship with just like kissing and cuddling with no sex involved. So whatever you did as a child that you enjoyed, that you took to adult with you, and whatever you did as a teenager that you enjoyed, you can like expand on that as an adult and do more of it. Embrace your inner child. Go out and explore different places. Go and feel your way through life in a way that doesn't involve sex, right? So how do I personally live a happy, satisfied and fulfilled asexual life without sex, right? So first of all, I know what's on my happy list, and I try and do at least 3 things of those every day. I go out to the cinema and I self-date. Self-dating is one of the most best things you can do in the world for yourself, because you're saying that you value yourself, you respect yourself, you mean something to yourself, and you're intentional about yourself. You care about yourself, you love yourself, right? So I make it practice to self-date every week, right? And I treat myself as if I was in a relationship with myself. I'm like, if you're in a relationship with a hot guy right now, but you're in a relationship with hot you instead, like, what would you want to do in that week? Maybe you want to see him like a couple of times. Maybe you want to go out on more than one date. So that's why I had self dates at the cinema on National Cinema Day on Saturday, but I still kept my self date day to myself and watched a movie on Sunday morning because I felt like I still owed myself a trip to the cinema on Sunday, which is my usual trip to the cinema. Because I'm like, hang on a minute, if this was a relationship, you feel like, well, why do I have to give up my Sunday with you just to have another National Cinema Day? You know what I mean? So I'm like, no, I should instead have an extra date with myself that week. So by self-dating, it's a great practice. It gives me huge confidence. I dress up for myself. I think I look really gorgeous and beautiful. It just really helps my confidence. The cinema helps relax me, and it does give me an excitable feeling. It does release dopamine and oxytocin a lot of the time. Just the thought of being in the cinema, just the magical experience. So, this makes me really happy dating myself, really happy. I actually feel happier that I'm not active on dating sites anymore because I think that's very addictive and time wasting. And I think it's better to spend quality time with myself, watching movies, writing books, helping asexuals on this channel. So there's a lot more other things I can be doing with my life. So I self-date, I go on day trips, I take myself away on holiday, I go to theme parks, zoos, aquariums, either on my own or with a friend. And all these things gives me a deep sense of satisfaction and fulfillment because I'm doing things that make me feel really good about myself and my life and that make me happy. So I've just started doing a practice in the last, like this month and last month particularly, of doing different things to what I usually do. So I'm really getting out of my comfort zone and making myself go into places I wouldn't usually go in. So earlier on, I went into a place called Bar 12. Oh, 12 Bar, sorry. I did some shorts videos on that. And it's a new bar. It's only been open in my city. It's like a tea room, really. It's only been open in my city just over a month. And I thought I'd go in there and give it a try. They've got vinyl records, which is quite strange. And it says to be sociable and have drinks. So I thought I'll go in there and try something different. And that made me feel satisfied. The more I'm getting out and going into different cafes and to different pubs and to different bars, meeting different people, even if I don't talk to a ton of people, it's still making me feel good because it's giving me that variety, that difference to what I would usually have in my life. So it's not monotonous. So it's exciting and interesting. And I feel deeply fulfilled when I'm writing my books because that's my sole life purpose. When I'm helping asexuals because that is my other life purpose. When you're on purpose and living your life purpose, you feel a great sense of satisfaction when you're making a difference in the world, right? So I I get my excitement through doing what I love, through writing and through helping asexuals, through going to theme parks, which I can't go to at the moment because of my back, aquariums, out to the cinema, for meals and the zoo. So all these things make me incredibly happy. And when I go and do more of them, I feel satisfied that I'm living my best life for me. And I feel fulfilled that I've got a lot going on in my life and I'm accomplishing it. I've got this best-selling book, I've got Diary Confessions book, which is bestsellers. I've currently got 3 books I need to finish this year. Asexuality, which I'm currently working on. Diary Confessions, but it's a workbook I've got to finish. I've got 2 more chapters for that, and Asexual Guide to Sex I've got to finish. So this makes me deeply satisfied working on creative things. So if you're a creative person, allow your creativity to unleash, allow it to surface and come through. And You satisfy that need by allowing yourself to act that need out and to express yourself to the fullest you. Now, I use very bold colours, you might have noticed on my covers, because it's an expression of who I am. So one way you'd be satisfied in your life is being your true authentic self. I'm satisfied with my life because I'm being my true authentic self. I'm meeting my own needs. That means I'm not reliant on someone else for my own happiness. I'm doing my life purpose. I'm accomplishing things. I'm being productive, and all this adds up to having a happy and fulfilling life. And I'm making sure I put my health first now. I'm socializing more. I'm getting out more. Because taking regular breaks from work is actually helping me be more productive, because I feel like I want to work more when I come back home, which is a difference when you're just slogging away and not seeing any reward. So reward yourself is an absolute must, right? And if you are in a relationship, you focus on all the things that make you feel satisfied and happy in that relationship, like understanding each other, patience with each other. Like, do you really understand each other on a fundamental level? Have you got each other's backs? Are you working as a team? Are you building a home together? Are you building a family together, if that's what you want, So when we build together, when we build with other people, it can give us a sense of satisfaction that we're working with others and that we're accomplishing things with others as well. So you can involve other people, and teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. So I just hope you've had some insights, Like, some people have pets who are asexual, so they get a lot of love, care, and attention from their pets. Other people just have really strong emotional connections with their friends. And all of this leads to deep satisfaction. I'd love to know what makes you feel satisfied, happy, and fulfilled without sex. Please comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Don't forget to grab a copy of Diary Confessions and Asexual Perspectives on Amazon. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Love to know what you think. Take care. Bye-bye.